Hello, my name is Jada Williams, and I'm a senior at Nazareth College. And for my CME project, I wanted to explore how violence we encounter or witness shape who we are as a person.
It looks like it's like a little stupidity about like just like putting each other over like nonsense.
Violence, it can be looked at in many ways. Violence doesn't have to be physical violence, it can be mental because with violence, it's not always necessarily you're sitting there punching somebody, you're sitting there um, getting into a fight with them. You know, words can hurt somebody mentally, and this is it depends on how you view it.
Violence looks like technically somebody maybe killing or something like killing and fighting and stuff like that.
I grew up in a very sheltered home, so my mother, she wouldn't really let us venture out and do too much of anything. And then I also grew up in a Christian home, so a lot of the things that we wanted to do was out of question, and we couldn't follow after our peers. Like most of the things we would not do because we weren't allowed.
Yes, I have. I have because most of the times I be scared to walk down because I get picked up from work and then get taken off to drop off this library. And the other day I was walking by, I saw when this dude ran around the corner, I saw the gun behind his back and I was scared. Like what happens? What happens? Like something goes off. Him, this dude are arguing, and one gunshot popped off. Either it won't hit him, and I'm witness of that, or either it's going to miss and someone's going to hit somebody. So that point, I'm like, okay, I live in this neighborhood, violence is everywhere I go. So sometimes people get used to it, or sometimes people like leave and just get out of that neighborhood.
So, I personally don't think that I'm fully aware of the violence that happens in my home community. Growing up, I was provided like a protective like community, so if there was violence, I was never like really exposed to it. But this past summer, I had the opportunity to live in a north side neighborhood in the city of Syracuse. And so for 10 weeks, I worked with refugees, children, and adults within the neighborhood, and I heard and witnessed many stories of violence in the community. I witnessed fear on people's faces when they heard fireworks go off, and they had to remind themselves that it was only a firework, it wasn't a gunshot. Also, with my fellow interns, we attended a neighborhood watch meeting, and where like officers share the major reports that happened over the past month. And from like an outsider perspective who's never like lived in that type of situation, hearing like that there was 5 stabbings and shots fired all in 1 month that happened like walking distance from where I was living, it was like a big shock to me. But I'm really thankful that I had that opportunity because I was able to like reflect on my experiences and just become more aware.
I am aware of the violence in my community because it has caused like some stress on my family because like we are people of color, so like we have to be more cautious about what we do and like how long we are outside and who we hang around and like stuff like that.
I would say yes, because my dad is a police officer, so he would always come home and tell us the stories that he would go through that day. And I think part of it was to make us aware so that we weren't just ignorant to what he does in his job, but also so that we weren't ignorant to what goes on in our community.
Yeah, I think that media definitely plays a role in how we view violence because they get to pick what we see and what we see on the news at night or what we see in newspapers, and they can leave out certain things to go on an agenda that they might have. So the violence they show obviously is true, but it might not show the bigger picture.
The media definitely plays a role because it picks and chooses what type of violence we see, and so it continuously presents violence in the inner city and ignores all other types of violence, which then cements the places where different people live because it presents a picture of places.
I think the news and the media does play a role in how we see violence. I think the news and the media sort of has their own agenda when it comes to portraying events that involve violence, and they have their own spin and their own take on the event and sort of what they want us to hear with regards to acts of violence.
Without a doubt. I think this way because obviously, if I wasn't in school, I feel like I would have drifted towards the bad crowd in school and probably been out in the streets or gang banging or doing something. But yeah.
I think not only about white privilege and the place that I am in socioeconomic status. Not only do I go to Nazareth College, but I am very fortunate to live in a suburb of Rochester. So I believe that I was kind of born into a non-violent area, and that's kind of led me to where I am now.
Yes, violence do have a direct impact on my choices because, like, the way I think now, like, I just want to get out of this community because this violence is getting crazy. So, like, the choices, my goals that I'm making, I'm trying to go, like, get towards them so I can be the best I can be.
Yeah, violence played a major role in my life because like I grew up in New York City, in the ghetto in the hood, whatever you want to call it, and like it was just every day constant gunshots. I get sometimes get shot at. I seen some of my family get shot at. Almost witnessed my aunt get killed. It was just crazy out there. So I had to move because it wasn't for me no more. So now I'm up here in Rochester going to school, and now my mom, she recently passed because of violence, and it's crazy down there. So yeah, violence does play a major role in my life.
I think violence probably played a middle role in my life. Just seeing the media and how many shootings and mass shootings were going on when I was growing up. I definitely think that made me like hyper aware of like guns in my community and who had one and who didn't. And, like gun safety and all that.
Violence played a role in my life because, I grew up around violence, and all I know is violence. All I know is toting guns, and you gotta keep stuff on you just to be safe. That's how life is, where I'm from.
I feel like I had to be different, and I felt like the only way to be different was to move out of Rochester. And so I made up in my mind that I had to get this degree, and once I got this degree, that I was moving. But then, I had to realize that either way, wherever I move to, there's going to be violence. I can't escape it. And being that I grew up in like that setting, like violence is my reality, whether I like it or not, like whether I want to live through it or not. Like it's me, like it's a part of me because that's how I grew up.